Hey, this is Taugrim with TGN, bringing you my 5th Cleric PvP video for Rift. My Cleric reached level 50 the other week, and I've worked him up to rank 4. In this video, I'm going to talk about my Mash healer spec. It is a melee healer with 26 points in Justicar and Shaman and 14 in Warden. This gives you 18% passive mitigation, a range snare, a point-blank AoE interrupt, double convictions for life-based crits, an emergency heal and reprieve, and battle charge and dissolution to remove snare and root effects. You also get a nice knockback in Crushing Wave and an AoE hot that's instant cast called Healing Flood. The last thing to note is that the Surging Rapids talent boosts your Doctrine healing by 15%, so there is some really good synergy between the Justicar and Warden trees. As far as global cooldown rotations go before you get into combat, you should select a friendly player as your righteous mandate target. This is a pug for me, so I just picked another healer, and then put up Glacial Shield the bubble, Healing Spray as a hot before combat starts, and then as soon as combat is joined, use Healing Flood to hot up people around you. So that's pre-combat, and then as soon as you can, you want to use Bolt of Radiance and Sovereignty, which are life-based attacks, to generate 2 or more convictions. You can see here a warrior was overextended, so I drop back and then finish him off with a water jet. The strengths of the spec are its really high mobility, so I can remove any root or snare on me, and I can gap close with battle charge and punt opponents back with Crushing Wave, and snare them from range with humility. So this spec has really good positional control, which is really helpful in our focus fire or when running down flag carriers. The spec is also very natively durable because of the undispellable damage mitigation, and because all of the main heals for the spec and all the ranged and melee attacks are instant cast, you can run and gun as a healer, which can be a lot of fun and is also very unusual because for most traditional cleric specs it requires you to do cast time heals, which limit your mobility. So right there you can see I'm getting shelled, so I pop reprieve the emergency heal and then punt that rogue away from me with Crushing Wave. So this spec supports a kiting playstyle, which I really like. Right here I'm spamming drink so I can regen a little bit of mana. Now the spec does have 2 mana regeneration abilities in Purpose and Ageless Ice. There has been some debate on my blog as to whether you should pop them separately or together. My advice is if you really need mana, you should pop them both at the same time, and the reason why is you want to regen your mana as efficiently as possible. So if you have both abilities popped, you can refill your mana bar in about 4 or 5 melee hits, whereas if you only pop one or the other, you won't get a full mana bar, and you may not be able to heal while you're trying to regen mana. By popping both, I regen my mana quickly, and I can even interleave some healing abilities in my global cooldowns before Purpose and Ageless Ice expire. So to begin this match, the other side was out muscling us. They had more warriors. They had control of the middle, but we're gradually pushing up and picking them off. And this is Escalation Whitefall Steppes, so it's really important that we control the middle of the field so that we can have first dibs on the flags when they spawn. One nice thing about being a durable melee is that I can push up on the opposing lines like this, and I'm hoping by doing so that some of the other folks in this Warfront will follow me. Now this is definitely a healer first, DPS second spec. I don't want to misrepresent it. You're not going to be a crazy DPSer with this spec, but you will have functional off DPS, and you can assist train to help bring targets down. And you'll see there's some instances during this video where I put out over 1k damage in a global cooldown, which is is pretty good for a healing spec. Another thing to note is I've already lost some of my buffs in that sequence of fighting. There are 7 buffs between the Justicar and Shaman trees, and it's really important to note that when you get dispels placed on you, your buffs are peeled off in the order that they were applied. So you want to apply your 2 best buffs last, and that would be Mien of Honor for the boost your Doctrine healing, and Cavalier, which enables you to generate convictions. If those buffs come off mid-combat, you got to reapply them as soon as possible. I don't generally sweat the other 5 buffs. They don't make as big of a difference. I'll reapply them in combat if I have time, if I can get a moment, but otherwise I just wait until we push back or wipe the opponents and then rebuff. So for the spec, I do favor the Justicar abilities in my melee attack rotations instead of the Shaman abilities. So I don't use Crushing Blow or Massive Blow because they deal physical damage and they don't generate convictions, and this spec is all about generating convictions so you can heal as much as possible. So right here I just got it rooted. Once I'm out of it, I go ahead and create a gap over to that enemy cleric, and this warrior is still following me. I've been kiting him, so I knock him back with Crushing Wave. So as far as movement and positioning is concerned, the spec is really good at that. So I snare this opponent from range and start to beat on him, and then I have enough time to stop and type into chat that there's a flag carrier on the right side, hoping that I'll get some help. As far as weaknesses of this spec, I don't have any points in Templar, so I don't have the CC Breaker Break Free, and I don't have the Detaunt ability. Those are partially mitigated because I can remove movement impairing effects through Battle Charge or Dissolution. You can see I punted a rogue there away from the flag. And I'm natively very durable, so not having a ton is not as big a deal. Right there I got 2 nice back-to-back crits of 700 and then 1k with Jolt. And the awesome thing about Jolt is it'll proc even off a healing crit. The other downside or weakness of the spec is I don't have the AoE mitigation talents, the Sentinel Protect the Flock or the Templar Reinforce. Now the thing is, Sentinels is a very popular healing spec, so you really only need one Sentinel Templar with Protect the Flock and Reinforce because they don't stack across clerics. That would be overpowered. And you see Sentinel healers in Warfronts a lot, and I also have some in our guild. This particular Warfront I was running solo. I queued solo just to see if I could find some pretty rough matches. And I finished second overall in healing, and I out-healed the next 2 Guardian healers combined. And keep in mind, I'm at rank 4, which at this point in the game is a pretty modest rank. There are a lot of players running around ranks 5 to 8. But in a lot of Warfronts, I've been able to output top healing or top 2 or 3 healing. If you're looking for more information about the spec, please click on the link to the guide on my blog, and let me know if you have any questions.